Nice.
Right. And well, maybe then I propose the question, is there something behind the scenes that we don't know about, maybe that was more for this reason? And do you think maybe they're just being put into stereotypical gay category in a sense, maybe being pigeonholed, and therefore, but there's a really larger issue at hand that maybe that we as the public aren't privy to?
Well,
Go ahead.
One of the things that I think it's important to notice is that over the last several weeks, the Catholic Church on the national level has really drawn a line in the sand around gay families. They've stepped out of family and adoption services that place children with gay parents. They stopped offering spousal benefits in Washington, D.C. when they made same-sex marriage legal there in order to not have to provide benefits to same-sex partners. So I think in some ways this is a reflection of a national movement that they're making to really say we're not going to be accepting of the families that also want to be part of our church.
Yes. And, from everything that we've heard, as I mentioned before, the couple involved are a very private couple. So we don't really see any indication that it's anything other than a decision made by apparently by the Archdiocese that then the priest decided to enforce. And he explained this, he tried to explain the rationale behind this being different from some of the other sins that might be grounds for not allowing your children in school. I don't know that I particularly buy those rationale, so I suspect that there's a political aspect to this.
Well, if you'd like to weigh in on this subject, again, I'll give you out our email address, or if you have any questions for our panelists here, you can email us at dj@radio1190.org. That's dj@radio1190.org. And in full disclosure, I contacted the Archdiocese of Denver, and I contacted the school, and I got no response back from them at all. I know that there was a letter issued by, was it by GLAAD or by Boulder Pride, that in response to this issue, if you'd like to kind of touch on what you would like, what was said in that issue there, feel free to go ahead there.
We really want to focus on creating a positive response. While we understand that this is a troubling decision for people in our community, it's important to us that we not focus on the negative aspect, but more on the positive change that we can create here. And while it's true that we may not have an impact on a religious institution, we can have an impact on the community at large and help people understand that a policy can look one way when it's written and quite another way when it's implemented and affects us, child, and holds them accountable for the actions or love of their parents.
Well, I think Starcer touched on that. I think the real victim of all of this kind of hoopla and controversy is the child themselves, not being able to, attend school with friends that they've made and everything like that. Do you think, though, that since there has been so much public backlash over this decision, that there would be, do you see room for maybe the school or the Archdiocese of Denver, I don't know who controls what as far as the power structure, but do you think there's room for maybe them a reversal of this decision?
Well, we don't really have any indication of that. We certainly, you mentioned the backlash, and earlier you mentioned being in Liberal Boulder. I think, it is kind of encouraging to see that we're in a point of history where, in fact, incidents like this do cause an outcry and do cause people to react. I think, there was a time not so long ago where things like this probably wouldn't really leap to the forefront of your mind as something to be upset about. So I think we're seeing, because of the positive social change in regards to gay and lesbian families, that people are getting sort of an instinctive response to these things. So whether or not they make any changes on this particular case, I think that we'll see this as a step forward over time.
Well, where do we go from here as far as y'all's organizations are concerned? Are there plans for maybe more protests? Is there plans for any more demonstrations or rallies? Or what's kind of the next step in your stance?
Well, our next step is we are hosting a community forum on Monday at the Boulder Public Library, which is 1001 Arapahoe Avenue. It will start at 5 p.m., and you can learn more about the work that we're doing at boulderpride.org. And just on our front page, we have a link also to the letter that we published with our suggested action steps. Yeah. We have a program called Speaking Out, which is actually a speakers bureau that goes into schools and communities of faith and allows people who are part of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community, as well as our allies, to share their stories about coming out or about why they feel civil rights for our community is important. And we're doing a training on Tuesday, March 16th at 6:30 p.m., and that will be at the First United Methodist Church. Also in Boulder.
It is on 15th and between Spruce and Pine.
And we'd love to have more volunteers in that program just so that people can get the word out about who our community is.
And just a word on that program, it's really an amazing program because you get a panel of people to go into schools and talk to kids of all ages and adult audience as well. And people tell their stories as LGBT affiliated people, one through various means. They may be lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgendered, or they might be an ally. And then just an open forum, and you see incredible amount of progress in people's attitudes towards LGBT people.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head in the sense that this is not a gay issue. This is somebody's rights. This is a human rights issue. So, and I'm assuming that you don't have to be of the homosexual persuasion or anything to attend any of your events there. You accept from all walks, denominations, obviously, faiths, and everything like that. So on that note, I want to say thank you very much for coming in and chatting with us about the issue. I personally will continue to follow this issue, and hopefully that, if there are more develops, that we will be in contact. And you always have an open invitation to come on my show and discuss what's happening here in Boulder. Again,